If you're a parent, a teacher, really anyone who deals with teenagers, you know this scene. You say something that you think is caring, maybe helpful, or just a simple fact, and what do you get back? A slammed door, that sarcastic eye roll, or just a complete wall of silence. And you're left standing there thinking, what just happened?
You know, that question, it just hangs in the air in so many homes and classrooms, doesn't it? It's that huge gap between our good intentions and how they actually receive it. And man, it can feel like this impossible wall you just can't climb. But what if the problem isn't just what we're saying, but how we're saying it?
So first things first, let's figure out what's actually going on here. We're going to dive into the book Nonviolent Communication, which makes a pretty bold claim that even when we have the best intentions, our words can accidentally create a whole lot of hurt and conflict. Let's see how that works.
Okay, so look at this. We tend to use language that, without us even realizing it, judges or commands. We might say something like, "You're not being responsible." And in our head, we're thinking we're teaching this great life lesson. But what they hear, it's a verdict, a label. They hear, "I'm a failure." And that kind of language, no matter how well-meaning, just immediately puts them on the defensive.
Now, this right here, this is the core mistake we all make. We mix up what we see with what we think about it. So saying something like "you rarely cooperate," well, that feels like a judgment, an accusation. But what if you said, "I organized 3 activities and you said no to each one"? See the difference? That's just an observation. It's a fact. It's like a camera just recorded what happened. And it is so much harder to argue with a fact than it is with a judgment.
And I get it. You might be thinking this right now. Seriously? Does every single conversation have to feel like you're walking on eggshells? It sounds exhausting. But what if I told you there's a formula that could actually make these tough conversations simpler and more direct, not harder?
And that brings us to the absolute heart of nonviolent communication. Think of it as a prescription, a formula for real connection, not just a rule book for being nice. So what is NVC? Don't think of it as a set of tricks or techniques. It's really a big shift in your focus. It's about moving away from that whole game of who's right and who's wrong, and instead just trying to figure out what everyone in the room needs. The goal is to build respect and empathy, especially when things get heated.
And here it is. This is the whole formula, broken down into 4 simple parts. First, you observe. Just state the facts, no judgment. Second, you share how you feel. Third, and this is the really important part, you state the need that's causing that feeling. And finally, you make a specific request. Observe, feel, need, request. This little framework, it can literally turn a shouting match into a moment of connection.
Okay, so a formula on a slide looks nice and neat. But how does this actually work when you're in the thick of it, when the tension is high? Well, the key is learning how to be a translator.
Now this is a game changer. You have to stop hearing criticism and anger as a personal attack. I want you to try and hear it as, well, as a really clumsy, tragic attempt to express a deep, unmet need. Your job isn't to fire back and defend yourself. Your new job is to translate what's really being said underneath all that noise. Think of this as your cheat sheet. When a teen yells, "You just don't understand," what they're really screaming is, "I have a deep need to be understood." When they say, "Leave me alone," they're broadcasting a need for their own space, for autonomy. And "You're so unfair," that's a cry for fairness and respect. NVC is all about learning to tune into that signal instead of just reacting to the static. All right, let's put this translation skill to the test with a really intense example from the book. We're not talking about messy rooms here. This is about a father finding out his son did something incredibly dangerous and illegal. So, what's the gut reaction here? To yell, right? To ground him forever. But this father, he did something different. His first move wasn't to confront his son. It was to connect with himself. He stopped. He asked, "What am I feeling?" The answer, anger and fear. Then he asked, "And what do I need?" The answer, honesty and for his son to be safe. And look what happened next. He put the formula into action perfectly. He led with his observation. "I heard you took the car." He shared his feelings. "I'm worried and scared." He stated his need, "Because I care so much about your safety." And he finished with a clear request. "Can you tell me what happened?" It was an invitation to connect, not a demand for punishment.
Now, we've got to be honest here. This method, it isn't some magic wand. It's not going to work perfectly in every single situation. So let's talk about where it might fall short. NVC is a powerful tool, but it's for building connection, and it works best when everybody actually wants to connect, you know? It's not a defense against someone who is deliberately trying to hurt you. And also, if you're just reciting the words like a robot without any genuine curiosity, it can feel really fake, even manipulative. The goal has to be real connection, not just getting your way.
So where do you even begin? How can you actually start using this, like tonight, without feeling like you're reading from a script? Let's break it down into 3 simple first steps.
Let's start simple. Step 1, just practice separating what you see from what you think about it. Step 2, get really curious about your own needs. And step 3, frame your requests around what you want them to do, not what you want them to stop. Trust me, would you be willing to put your socks in the laundry basket is going to land a lot better than stop being so messy. If you take only one thing away from all of this, let it be this idea right here. This is the absolute core of nonviolent communication. When you can actually train yourself to listen for the need that's hiding inside the criticism, you unlock this incredible ability to connect with almost anyone.
So the next time a door slams in your house, what are you going to hear? An attack or a cry for a need? Because that choice, that tiny shift in how you listen, well, that can change everything. Thanks for watching.